Hello to all. Hola a todos. This is Carlos Acosta for One Day Less podcast. Thank you for being with us today. Remember, at the end of today, it will be one day less in our lives, so it's time to start living it to finally accomplish your goals, my goals of life. Today, my special guest is a gentleman, a successful entrepreneur who has been involved with digital marketing since 2007. He wants to share with us his knowledge about social media marketing and Google Ads. Mr. Brandon Leibowitz. Hola, Brandon. How are you?
I'm
Welcome
doing
to
well.
the show.
Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to being on the show today.
I'm happy that you're here, and welcome again to One Day Less podcast. Uh, Please, let's start with about yourself. Tell me a little bit about how you evolved in the digital marketing market. Anything you want to share with us so we can be more informed about what do you do today.
No, my name is Brandon Leibowitz, and I've been involved with digital marketing since 2007, helping people get more traffic to their websites using SEO, social media, email marketing, running paid ads, and just trying to figure out how to get you traffic. But over the years, I've really focused more on the SEO side of things to get you free traffic, just because why spend money on ads when you can get up there for free? So over the years, I've worked at different advertising agencies, different mom and pop shops, helping out Fortune 500 companies and everything in between with their marketing, and really just geared more towards the SEO side of things, just because it's that free traffic. Everything else definitely works. It's just you have to pay for it. Whereas with SEO, Google's going to give you that free traffic. So why not take advantage of that?
Okay. So you're specialized in this, right? Uh, we use Google for every day, and of course, myself, I can tell you that I use it so much for so many things, and you searching, that's the advantage of the modern world. You can search for something, and then it appears in your search, in your results, and that's magic. That's magical. But of course, we all the companies are competing for your attention, all the products, all the businesses. So there must be a magic formula or something, maybe not as magical, but you have a technique for doing it in an efficient way for a business, for a product, for a brand. Is that correct?
Yeah, every website's different. So it's just trying to figure out what website, what keywords you're trying to target, how much marketing you've already done versus your competitors, and trying to figure out a strategy to help get you to the next level. But it's not really just one size fits all. Every website's different. Every business is different. So just trying to figure out what stage you're in of the business, where your competitors are at, and how we could do better marketing than them. That's really what it comes down to, is just trying to spy on the competitors and see what they've done and trying to just do it a little bit better than they've done. Because if it's working for them, it's more than likely going to work for you. You just need to look at the strategies and implement them on your own.
Okay, but for example, I have a website. So how do you optimize your website for conversions, for people who can visit by searching? How do you do that?
To optimize your website for sales, for conversions, you got to make sure your website loads quickly. Got to make sure it looks good on mobile. Got to make sure you have a good call to action. Got to make sure that all your information is above the fold, because when you look at a screen, whatever you see, that's called above the fold. Once you start scrolling, that's called below the fold. And most people never scroll down on a website. So if you have your add to cart now button or contact us now below the fold, you're going to lose out on over half your traffic, because most people are never going to scroll down, which seems weird, but it's so very important. And also the way people look, they just zigzag from left to right, looking in a Z. So they're just looking for things that stick out to them. And if there's not much there, if a big image is there that has nothing to do with what you're offering, it's going to throw people off. Like if you have a bunch of people just smiling and you're selling tennis shoes, it might throw people off. They're like, why are these people happy, versus seeing an image of this product or service that you're offering, and also just having a value proposition, telling people what's in it for them. People are selfish. They don't really care about you or who you are or how long you've been around. They don't care about any of that stuff. They just want to know what's in it for them. What are they going to get from using your product or service or using your website versus the competitors or the 10 other websites on that first page of Google? So really need to convey and build that trust up, which is not easy because half the people that come to your website leave immediately. So got to capture that traffic and keep them engaged, which is very, very tricky, but it's so very important.
For example, well, I want to know, when we visit a page as a client searching for something, how many seconds is the average of average person to be there and then, you know, get hooked with that or not? How much time, Brandon?
It just depends on your website. If your website's selling, if you're a dentist, it might only take a few minutes to get them to call you. But if you're selling some SEO software, like some software or like a car, it's going to take a couple of days or a lot more time on your website. But every website's different. So it's just knowing, are you a blog? If you're a blogger, you have a lot of content. You want people staying on your website for a long time. But if you're just selling shoes, you don't want them to stay on your website long, because the longer they stay on there, the more lost they're going to get. They're going to get confused. You just want them to just find the product and buy it right away. But if you're a blog, you want them to stay there, read, click on links, read more blogs, keep on staying on there, maybe click on an affiliate ad so you get paid some commission. But it just depends. It's not really a one size fits all either with that. You have to look in Google Analytics and start tracking your traffic and see how long do they stay on each page of your website. And you just start looking for patterns and trends and trying to figure out, why do people stay on this page for 10 seconds versus this page gets 90 seconds? What's going on? Why are people staying longer? So just trying to piece it together and figuring out what's going on, because every website is so different. So it's not really, we want people to stay on this website for 1 minute. We just want them to stay on for the amount of time needed to make that conversion action, whatever that conversion action is, whether it's calling you, emailing you, buying a product, signing up for a subscription, whatever it is. But that's ultimately what you want to do. And you want them to do it as quick as possible. The longer you're on the website, the more likely they're going to get distracted. If they're on their phone, someone's going to call them. So you don't want them staying on there long. You want them to just get straight to the point. And that's where websites are cluttered. It's hard to do that. So you got to make it easy for the user to just do it in as few clicks as possible. Because again, the longer they stay there, the more likely you're going to get lost, confused, and hit that back button and you lost that visitor.
Okay, so it depends on the product, right? Or what you're selling. Of course, that's what you're telling us. And you have strategies for that. So what strategies for CEO strategies work in 2022, in this year? What can you recommend us?
For SEO, it's all about good content on your website. You have to have content. So good original text on every single page on your website. We have about 400 words. The more content you put on your website, the easier it is for the search engines to read and understand what keywords you're trying to focus on. So content is number one. The most important thing is having good content. But unfortunately, none of that matters without backlinks, because you can put keywords all over your website, but Google doesn't care what you put on the website without having other websites talk about you. The more websites that talk about you, the more trust Google gives you, and then they rank you higher. But without these backlinks, nothing really matters with SEO. You got to build good quality backlinks. You got to get other websites to talk about you, whether it's writing articles, doing press releases, blogging, content marketing, just whatever you need to do to get these websites to talk about you. There's millions of strategies, but you just got to focus on the ones that work. Because if you do the wrong type of backlinks, instead of ranking higher, you're going to drop down, which is not what we want to happen. We want you to get more traffic. We don't want you falling down those rankings.
Okay, so that phenomenon is about learning how to promote better your product or your service or your brand, because it's a trial and error process. Can you say that or you start by using some techniques or that will optimize the search?
You know, no one knows how Google works, so no one knows how Google changes every single day. So even if you did know, tomorrow it changes. So it doesn't matter how Google works. We're just trying to figure out what your competition's done and how to do better SEO than your competitors. That's all that matters with SEO, is who are your competitors, what have they done, and how can we do it better? Looking at their keywords, looking at their backlinks, everything is transparent if you know where to look. Nothing is hidden. So you just look at what the competitors are doing and start implementing them and see if it works, and keep testing, because nobody knows how Google works. It's all about just testing and seeing what's worked in the past and trying to replicate that. Because if you see all your competitors are doing this strategy and they're on that first page of Google, they must be doing something correct. So trying to figure out what they've done and implementing that on your own website.
Okay, so for how do you research keywords today?
There's a bunch of different ways to do keyword research, but one way is using the Google Keyword Planner. It's a free tool from Google where you can just throw your keywords in there and see how many people actually search for that keyword every single month. So you can see maybe 20 people search for your keyword every single month. But if you use a plural of it, you might get 2,000 people searching every single month. So you got to do the keyword research and figure out what keywords you want to target. Also, you can just search on Google and find the competition. That's probably the easiest way, is just go into Google, throw your keyword in there, and see who's on that first page of Google and look at their blue clickable link. That's called the SEO title tag. That's where they're putting all their keywords. So you can just search your keywords and see what everyone else is putting, look for ideas, get ideas, write those down, and then throw them into the Google Keyword Planner to make sure people actually search for that keyword. But if your competitors are putting it on the first page, like if you see like Amazon is putting keywords, or Target or Walmart or any of these big corporations, you know they have a whole team of SEO people that are spending hours researching these keywords for you. So you can just look at those, pull them out, then double check using the Google Keyword Planner. But if these big corporations are using it, it's more than likely the correct keyword.
Okay, so that's a very fine explanation of how to do it. Can you repeat the product? What's the name of the product for searching keywords? Can you repeat the name? It's Google.
It's called the Google Keyword Planner.
Okay, okay. So do you download that, or do you search it over the internet, or how do you get to there?
No, you just go on to just type into Google Keyword Planner, and then you just click on it, and then you just put your keywords in there and click search or click get results, and it will show you how much traffic each keyword, how many monthly searches each keyword gets.
Wow, it maybe sound familiar to you, but for me, it's like a secret. It's good to know that you can do that, so you can know which words are the best for putting precisely in your brand, in your product, so they can search the better words that you can find. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's very important that you do keyword research. It's one of the first starting points. So definitely search in Google, look at your competitors' keywords, spy on them, and then throw them into the Google Keyword Planner. And then you could see how many people actually search for those keywords, if they are good or not.
Okay. Every one of us can have a product, something to sell. And I want to ask you this. Of course, it depends on the quality of my service, product, or brand. That in the long term or medium term, I will have success on that. But at the beginning, of course, I need a strategy, and that's what we are talking about. So you have that for the public, right? You have that for your clients. You know how to do it. That's the main reason to be with you, to hire you. Is that something that we can say that's a good way to start about your product or your brand or your service?
Well, if you're just looking for more traffic, that's what I really help out with. It's helping people get more traffic to their website, whether it's with SEO, social media, paid ads, but prefer SEO just because it's a better long-term strategy. If you're trying to run a business, you don't want to be spending money on ads and then stop spending money, you just disappear. Like with SEO, you stop spending money or investing time on SEO, you're not just going to disappear. It's still going to stay up there because your competitors have to do more SEO than you've done, and that takes time. So that's really why I like SEO, is just because it's more long-term. And social media is good, but you're just kind of renting space off Facebook. You don't own anything on these social media sites like Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest. You're just giving them content and you're just renting that space out for them. And what happens is, like MySpace, you invest all your time into like Instagram, and then 10 years from now, Instagram's just gone, and you're just like, well, I don't have anything else. But your website, you always own the website, so you have full control of it. So that's really why I like the SEO over the years, is just keeping you in full control and giving you something that you have control of. Whereas with everything else, you're just really renting that space. You don't own any of that stuff.
Okay, so you will recommend, of course, Google more than Facebook, Instagram, anything else, right?
It just depends where your audience is at. You want to be where your audience. If your audience isn't on Google, then you don't need to be on Google. If your audience is on Facebook, you need to be on Facebook. If they're on Twitter, you got to be on Twitter. If you're on YouTube, you got to be on YouTube. Okay. But you have to be where your audience is at. Doesn't matter Yeah, it doesn't matter. Every business is different. So it's like myself, I'm an SEO company, or like a dentist, or like a doctor. You're not going to go on Facebook looking for a doctor. You're not going to go on Instagram looking for a doctor or an SEO company or a lawyer. You might, but most people aren't really going to do that. They're going to go on Google first. And then they're going to check to make sure you're a real company by looking at your social media. But it doesn't really work the other way around. Sometimes they'll find you on social, but usually not. But if you're selling a physical product, then social could be okay sometimes. But even then, social media, there's not much intent. Like people searching on Google, they're searching, they're looking. People on Facebook are browsing, trying to connect with friends and family. So people searching on Google, they're typing in, I want to use your product or service right now. Whereas on Facebook, you're just looking at interest, saying, okay, I see that you like these similar things, but I don't really know if you want to use my product or service now, but here I am. Do you want to use my product or service? Which most of the time they don't, because they're not searching, they're not in market. Whereas on Google, they're actively searching. So it's just a little bit different. But again, it's all about who your audience is at. Who is your audience? If they're on social, be on social. If they're on whatever, like wherever they are, like if they're on TV, you got to be on TV. If they're listening to the radio, you got to be on the radio. You got to be where your audience is at. That's the most important thing with marketing, is just knowing who your audience is and taking a step back as a business owner and try to figure out, if I was looking for my product or service, where would I go? Would I go on Facebook? Would I be on Google? Maybe I'll be on Yelp, TripAdvisor. Like, where would you go to look for your product or service? That's where you need to be.
And for example, let's say about me, that I don't know where my product is better positioned in social networks or Google. You can do, can you do the research for this too, to help me understand my product, to say, this is better for you, for example, SEO or Facebook or anything else? You can help me with that?
Well, you just have to take a step back and think, where would your audience be? But you have to test. You can't just say this is going to work. You have to test, because nobody knows. But you would probably know better, because you know your business versus myself. I'm just coming in as a third party, but you know who your audience is at, you know where they're at, where they're browsing. But you can test all that stuff out, looking at Google Analytics and tracking everything and seeing where your traffic's coming from, where your sales are coming from. But you have to test. You have to test. Always test. Never stop testing. That's one thing that everybody gets wrong, is they just build a website and they leave it up there. You have to test. Move stuff around, change the button, change the color, like change the add to cart to buy now, change like the contact us to call today, or whatever it is, but you have to test. If you don't test, you're not optimizing, and you're just losing out on a lot of missed traffic, because you have to be testing all the time. Nobody knows what's going to work until you test and you get the data. Then you can look at the data and see right there, like, this is what's working, this is what's not working, and make statistically informed decisions. Otherwise, you're guessing, and guessing is not the way to go when you have that data. When you have that data, take advantage of it.
Okay. Okay. I've heard a lot of ad agencies and similar, that they say, whatever you are going to sell over the internet, you have to wait at least 6 months. 6 months, then maybe you'll see better numbers. You know, your ROI will start from there, or maybe later, but not before. Is that correct? Is that a correct statement? What do you think about that, Brandon?
Well, for SEO, it takes about 6 months, unfortunately, to take full effect, because Google doesn't trust anybody. So you have to build that trust up. It's not immediate. That's why when you're running paid, or when you're starting off with SEO, a lot of people will supplement that with some paid ads, because they want to get some traction in. If you run paid ads, you'll get that ROI tomorrow. You run a paid ad right now, you'll be able to see that traction tomorrow. Or social media, you get those immediate results. But with SEO, it is more of a long-term, where you have to really build the trust up from Google, because Google just does not trust anybody. And it's not easy to get them to trust you. That's why SEO takes about 6 months, unfortunately, but you'll start moving up right away. But to really get to like the first page of Google, that's where everybody's doing SEO. That's where it's hyper competitive, and that's why it takes time. But if you're running paid ads, you're doing an email marketing campaign, you'll get the ROI tomorrow, or in a day or two. You'll see those results. It's not going to take 6 months. But for SEO, it's the long-term play.
And of course, you are specialized on that, so you know how to do this for the public, for the people, right? Is that correct?
No, I've been doing SEO and paid ads, social media, and digital marketing for the past 15 years now. So I have some experience with this stuff and can help out.
Big experience.
We're like a decade. It's kind of crazy now, but yeah, been helping out people with all that stuff.
Okay, for the audience, this is very important. Now you know an expertise and in this, so that's something good to know, because sometimes you are lost on that. Believe me, I've been there. That a lot of people they claim they have the know-how, but they don't have the experience. And of course, what you're telling us right now in this chapter of One Day Less about the interview we're having is something very clever and very clear, because we don't have that every day. Let me tell you about this, because I've been there, and it's hard sometimes to trust somebody that can tell you this, because any other way, you know, you will be in the wrong way, and then you will lose time. So it's very important for the people to know that you have the know-how because of your experience, and you have advanced techniques for the SEO. So that's something very good to know for everyone, because again, we can have a lot of competition in this, and if we don't have the right person to do the right thing, we will be lost for a long time. It's weeks, months, and so you're now helping us with helping a lot with, to all of us with this. It's very important. For example, you have techniques for doing the competitor analysis. Do you have techniques?
There's different tools to look at what your competitors are doing and seeing their backlinks, looking at their keywords. I just mentioned earlier, you just search on Google and you could see all of your competitors' keywords right there without having to do anything. But there's tools to look at their backlinks like Moz, MOZ, or Ahrefs, AHREFS. You buy these tools and they'll show you all of your backlinks, all your competitors' backlinks, and you can just see one by one where they're getting those backlinks and reach out to those websites and try to get them for yourself, because it's working for your competitors. It's more than likely going to work for you. It's just you need to see what they are doing, and with these tools, you can see all that information.
Okay, and let me ask you this: has Google evolved? Is it very different from, for example, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 1 year ago? I don't know. Can you comment us about the evolution of Google? Because maybe for all of us it's the same, you know. But I don't know if, as an expertise on this, can you tell us about it?
No, it's always changing. Every day it changes, so it's always evolving. And they're just trying to clean up spam. They're just trying to remove all the spam, low quality content, and put out better content. That's all they're really doing. Is they're updating their algorithm, but they're really focused on the spammers, the people that are just trying to game the system and figuring out loopholes. Google's like, we don't want you to just instantly rank. We want you to work for these rankings. So Google's changed a lot. They changed a lot how they look, how they show the results, how everything's done. But for the most part, the core functionality, it really comes down to backlinks with SEO. Their rankings still all start off backlinks. Back when they first started, that's how they rank websites, and still to this day, it's all based off backlinks. It's changed how they look at the backlinks, but it's primarily based off backlinks still to this day.
Okay, and what do you think of the ads that appear when you do a Google search? The first that sometimes appear, or maybe most of the time, are the ads, right? And then the not paid search that you did. So what do you think about the ads there? A lot of people see them and they say, well, they are paid. They are not. I'm not validating this because they are paid. So what do you think of that?
No, that's what everyone says, but sometimes people click on them on accident and don't realize it. So that's why Google has it say ad very tiny so you don't see it. And hopefully you click on it and make Google richer. But the ads do work, but yeah, it's just not many people click on them. But the people that do click on them, it's more accidental usually, or they just don't know it's an ad, or who knows, it's on mobile. They accidentally clicked on it, but most people try to avoid the ads.
Okay. So in general, they are not good, right? To have ads for Google, or what do you think about that? For example, if I want to put ads on Google, is it good, or you will not recommend that, or what's your opinion on that?
Well, it works if you have a budget for it. Definitely ads work. So not saying don't run ads, but SEO is just a better long-term strategy. But if you have a budget for ads, definitely utilize it, because the ads do work and you'll get the immediate results, and you'll see that return on your investment, the ROAS, all that stuff pretty much immediately. You don't have to wait for it. With this SEO, it's going to take some time, but With the paid ads, you get that immediate return on your investment.
Okay. Today, in 2022, is there really a competitor for Google? Another search engine? Do you think that there's another big competitor for Google or not? Because I only use Google, let me tell you. I don't use any other search engine. I don't like to because I believe Google has a solution for me and most of the time. But what do you think? Today, we have big competitors or not?
No, you can look in Google Analytics or any of these tracking tools and you'll see where your traffic's coming from. And Google brings about 20 to 80% of your traffic. Bing will bring about 1%. Yahoo will bring 1%. DuckDuckGo might bring 1%. Acosta might bring half a percentage. The rest is going to come from social media, email marketing, paid ads, radio ads, people just typing in your website directly. But Google just dominates when it comes to bringing in the traffic for now. But who knows what's going to happen in the future. But for now, when you look at analytics, and I recommend everyone look in their analytics to see where the traffic's coming from, because then you can optimize your website to better fit that traffic. Because if you don't know, you're just guessing. But you'll see that Google, for the most part, is just going to bring in the majority of the traffic because everybody uses it for now. But who knows what's going to happen in the future. But for now, there's no one that comes close to Google.
Okay, so there's no competition. We can conclude that, right? There's only Google, and that's the best way to go for search engine today. And again, that's very important because sometimes we may be bad informed about other search engines, and we need to know that Google is king, and that's the way to go if you need to promote something, right?
Yep, unless you're in another country where they block Google, then you want to be on a different search engine. But for the most part, everywhere else in the world, Google just runs everything. But you have to just know who your audience is. Again, like, who's your audience? Where are they searching? Are they using a different search engine in their country? Possibly. So you have to accommodate for that. But that's just knowing who your audience is. And yeah, that's really the most important thing, is just know who your audience is so you can market to them appropriately.
Okay, I've heard, maybe this is a very basic question for you, but I've heard a lot about the landing page. What do you think about landing pages?
No, every page on your website is a landing page. So every page on your website is essentially a landing page because people land there. You want them to do a conversion action. You want them to buy. You want them to do something. So you have to treat every page as a landing page. Don't just create landing pages for paid ads. Every page on your website should be optimized for conversions. If not, it doesn't really make sense. So you really have to think of like, how do I optimize my website, every single page, to capture that traffic, whether it's a blog post, someone's reading a blog post, at the end, you could have a call to action saying like, sign up today to learn more, or whatever that conversion action is, or here's a product, you write a blog post about it. At the very bottom of the blog post, you have the link to buy that product. But you have to just understand that you need to optimize every page for those conversions. You don't want to just optimize 5 pages on your website. You want to optimize every single page. You want to capture that traffic and get them to convert. If not, you're just going to lose that traffic and they're going to be gone, and they're probably not going to remember you unless you follow them around with remarketing ads, which is really helpful. So when you go look at a product on Amazon, you don't buy that product, you see those ads follow you around, keeps yourself, that really works really, really, really well for anyone that goes to any website and doesn't, if you're an e-commerce website, doesn't add a product to the cart or doesn't check out, or if you're a service-based business, if you don't go to the contact page or call you, follow them around, because you got to keep yourself top of mind. I think you need like 5 touch points before somebody actually really trusts you. So someone goes to your website, they're not going to trust you. They're going to hit that back button, but then they see you following them around. It's like, oh, okay, I remember this company. Then maybe they see you on social media. Maybe you got their email address, so you could send them some emails, and that's going to build up that trust. But without that, it's tough to get people to trust you.
Okay, I see. It's perfectly explained. So that's good to know. And what do you think is the best companion for Google, if there is one? For example, I think about YouTube or something like that, that will complement your product, your brand, again, your service. Do you think there's a good or the best companion available for Google, for the SEO or something like that?
Well, Google owns YouTube, so Google loves YouTube, and they're always going to rank that higher than any other video platform out there. But video is definitely important. People buy off people. They don't want to just read a website, read a blog post. They'd rather have somebody talking to them, explaining it. So visual content definitely helps out. People, like if you look at like Instagram, start off with images and videos. Now it's like just primarily videos. TikTok is all videos. Everything is really video. So video is very, very important. And I would jump on that sooner than later and try to capture some segment of that market, because people want to buy off you. They don't care about your website. They don't care about that stuff. They want to know who's behind the website. Who are you? What do you have to offer? And that's where the video or anything visualization is going to help out a lot versus just, here's a website, here's some information. Most people are lazy, not lazy, but they don't have long attention spans anymore. So they're going to get to your content. They're not going to read half that content. They might read like 1 or 2 bullet points and that's it. But if it's a video, they don't have to think as much and they could just listen to you, and which makes it a lot easier for people because it's too easy to get distracted. But the video captures their attention. If it's a good video, if it's a bad video, they're just going to cut back by it and stop it. So gotta make sure you're interesting. Otherwise, lose that audience. But video does really help out a lot.
I totally agree with that because we are visual creatures, right? We love to have the eye with good visuals, and of course, if something is attractive to us, is video, movies, or TV, or anything else. So I totally agree with that with us, because in a website that I see video, and of course, as you say, very good quality video, I am attached to it almost to the end, or maybe the whole video. And that's very good to know for everyone, that you need to complement that with video. Again, it's good to know. So, okay, Brandon, I don't know if you have anything else to say us about an advice for preparing your product or brand or service for the SEO, for your campaign, for anything you would like to add to us, because that would be very good.
Just patience with all this stuff. Like you said, like at the beginning, that it might take about 6 months to get your return on your investment. But any marketing, it does take time. Like SEO takes time. Running the paid ads, you get that return on investment pretty much immediately, but you still have to optimize and test and tweak the campaign. So everything really comes down to patience. A lot of people just want everything immediately, which we all want it immediately, but you have to understand that this stuff takes time. And if you're just making little bits of movements, you're still moving in the right direction, and just be patient with it all. Don't just give up or get discouraged because you're not seeing any traction, because it does take a few months for the SEO to really kick in. And even with social media, like building a following with social media is going to take time. It's not, none of this stuff is just overnight. I mean, sometimes people go viral and just explode, but most companies need that slow, steady growth over time. They're just going to keep building it and building it and building it. But just don't give up, keep working at it, and you'll see the results start coming in.
Okay, great. And for example, you are in the US, I am in Mexico. So if you want some campaign to be just for a region or a country or a continent, is that possible? Of course, you can do that for specializing your product, but is that possible?
Yep. Just like a local business. If you're like a restaurant in Mexico City, you don't want to be showing up in like another state like Colorado. Exactly. It might be a little strange. So Google understands that and is able to kind of geo-target it. And then if you're speaking a different language, they're not going to show it to like someone searching in French. It's not going to see a Spanish website because it wouldn't make sense unless it's translated. But if it's not translated, then Google's not going to show it. So if you're trying to target specific radius or geolocation, all that stuff is definitely doable. It's just making sure that you kind of tell Google what you're trying to do. So in the content is so important, where you write what cities, what countries, what states, what continents, or where you're targeting, because Google reads all that stuff and tries to figure out who you are. Where should we show your listing? Should we show you locally? Should we show you national? Should we show you globally? Where should we show you?
Okay, and on the contrary, if you want a worldwide exposition, you can do that too?
Yeah, for the most part. Google's going to show you, like for myself, I'm an SEO company. I get people all over the world finding me, but if I really wanted to focus on, like if I wanted people in Japan to find me, I'd have to translate my website. If I want people in foreign languages, but they'll show me to like other English speaking websites or countries like the UK or Australia or like Mexico, where people, for the most part, people speak English almost everywhere. So they'll show me a lot of places, but if I really want to penetrate that market, you have to write in that native language, because not everyone is going to speak English. And even if they do, it might not be perfect, and they want their native language because it's going to be a lot easier and they're going to trust you a lot more when they're buying off you versus a foreign website. We're like, who is this company? Where are they located? Am I going to get my money back? If they don't, like, how can I call them? It's going to be international phone calls. It's going to be expensive.
Yes.
So that's something that you have to also think of ahead of time.
So you have to be prepared for a worldwide audience, right? You have to be ready because they will trust you only if you are prepared, and you can help with that also, right? You can help the public or a client with that, right?
Yep. Help out, figure out, should we be in these countries? Should we be targeting all these different places, or should we just focus on your area? Usually I tell people, focus on your area first. And then once you've got that area down, then you can start expanding. But for the most part, just focus. Because once you start building it out and building out, it essentially like doubles the work. Like every location that you want to target, essentially doubling the amount of work, because now we have to target Los Angeles and now we have to target New York. It's two different places. It's essentially building up a whole new presence in that geolocation. So it does become a little tricky, but I always tell people just start with your one spot first, and then from there, grow it and keep building it out. But first, we got to dominate where you're located.
Okay, perfect. And for example, again, I have a Mac, and compared with a Windows machine or an Android device or an iOS device, is there a difference for Google on that, or it's the same?
No, they don't care if you're on the Mac or Windows or Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer or any of that stuff. If you're on the desktop versus a mobile, it's going to look different. Like the cell phone is going to look much different than the desktop results, but in terms of what computer you're using, what browser, that doesn't really affect it too much.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. That's very important. That you know that the public will find you if you do a great campaign. So that's something that may seem very basic, but it's good to know, because sometimes you say, well, maybe this will look fine on an iPhone, but not on an Android or something like that. It's a technical question, but again, it's good to know that you can be sure that it will look fine in every device, right?
Well, you gotta make sure your website looks fine in every device, because your website is gonna look different on every device. Your website is gonna look different from the iPhone 7, the iPhone 10, the iPhone 12. They change the way the phones look. They move buttons around. The screens get bigger. Android is gonna look different than the Galaxy, than the Google Pixel. Then when you're on desktop, if you're on Internet Explorer, it's gonna look much different than it does on Chrome or Firefox or Opera or Safari. For some reason, Internet Explorer always breaks a website. It's really weird. Most people don't use Internet Explorer anymore, but that one for some reason. But you have to test. You have to look at your website on every browser, on every device, and make sure it looks good if you really, really want to optimize it. And there's ways to spoof it with like extensions or plugins that you could add on to your Chrome browser, and then it'll show you what it looks like on the iPhone 7, the iPhone 4, the iPhone 2, if anyone still uses it. But you never know. Like if your audience is in some other country, they might not be on the iPhone 12 or 13,
yes, of course.
So you have to make sure that it looks good. And the older iPhones have a button there, so the button takes up screen space and it changes how your website looks. And we had companies in the past, like when I worked at an advertising agency, before the iPhone came out without their button, I mean, there's a line that they added, and it like blocked a pop-up that this company is spending like $10,000 a day on paid ads. And the new iPhone came out and had a line that like covered up their call to action. They weren't getting as many conversions. It was like, what's going on? Why are we not getting these conversions anymore? And the new iPhone came out, and we figured out that the iPhone has this little bar on it. We have to adjust the way the website looks on that specific phone. Otherwise, they're spending all this money and it's just disappearing. It's not working anymore. So it's little things like this that you probably want to think about, but they do have a big impact. And it's kind of like being a detective and trying to reverse engineer and try to figure out what's going on, what caused this issue, and how can we fix it? Because there's a lot of time detective work, just trying to backtrack and seeing what happened, what changes were out there, because there's so many variables that go into this stuff that it's tough to really pinpoint one thing, but you just have to be aware of all the changes going on in the world around you and trying to see if that's going to affect your digital campaigns possibly.
Wow, so it's very important to have these technical issues mentioned, because of course, as you're saying, this is a moving world and we need to know what works today. So you have that also that solution. And for example, again, another example, but it's very important for me to say because that's the way I work with things. If you want, I have a product, I have a service, and I contact you, and I'll tell you this, you ask me all you want to know about it. So you have all the information, maybe most of it, or then you ask me in the following days about it. How much time is this ready for going into a campaign for SEO or something like that?
You get started pretty much immediately. It's just try to dive in and just start building these backlinks, because the sooner you start building backlinks, the better off you're going to be. And the backlinks is where you just got to start a couple months ago, because the backlinks are what gets rankings, and backlinks take time to build them, to get Google to find them, to get Google to trust you. So that's always a starting point. And then trying to figure out your keywords, your competitors, doing analysis, and just trying to figure out what's the best strategy for you. But initially, it's let's just jump into these backlinks. Let's start building these backlinks, because I can make all these changes to your website, but without these backlinks, none of that stuff really matters. It's weird, but that's how Google works, and you gotta make Google happy.
Okay, so that's very important, the backlinks, right? It's something essential.
It's the most important part of SEO. Without backlinks, nothing really matters with SEO.
Okay, perfect. So again, well, this podcast is called One Day Less, and of course, it's about getting better in life for doing better things. And of course, Google, selling, SEO, and all of we're talking about is for doing things better with excellency. And this is a big part of the interview. But another part is somehow personal. I will get a little personal about this with you. And I want to ask you, how did you get here? Why are you here? What do you think about what's got you into this business?
I just fell into it after I graduated from college. I got lucky, and back in 2007, this company near my house said, "We want you to help out with digital marketing." And I didn't really know much about it. And they said, "Don't worry, we don't know much either." So I was like, all right, that's kind of interesting. But I got my degree in business marketing, and they don't really teach you digital marketing, or I mean, maybe nowadays they teach you a little bit more in college, but even then, like, you learn something today, tomorrow it's outdated. Like, if you're learning about, like, it's tough to teach social media or SEO. Like, you have to update those books pretty much every single day. There's new features at Instagram ads, or TikTok comes out with, or a new social media platform. So it's tough for them to teach you. So at this first job, they said, we're gonna, like, take you to classes and workshops and let you learn with us. And back then, I realized that everyone's probably gonna have a website in the future, and maybe I should just stick with this digital marketing, even though it's not my first choice of what I wanted to do. But everything is shifting towards digital, and having a presence there is going to be important. So kind of just fell into it, and ever since then, just really stuck with it and kept going, because I realized that's probably going to be the future. Everyone's going to have something online, and that's, yeah, just really fell into it. But for anyone that's looking today, just keep reading and learning up on, like, blogs, and reading up on forums, or watching videos, and just try to learn as much as you can. But whatever you do, just make sure that when you're reading or watching a video, that it's from a couple years ago. Anything older than that, it gets outdated. It still might work, but if you're watching a video from 15 years ago, it might not be the most accurate. It still might have some core principles that are true, but things have moved around and changed so much that it might not be 100% accurate. So when you are looking at that content, just try to find stuff that's a few years old.
I agree with that, because I am also an engineer. So anything else from 2 years on is outdated. You have to study with a lot of frequency about the new changes, and if you don't do that, you're lost. And there are so many changes. This is exponential. The technical word is exponential. So many new things every year, every month, that you need to keep up to date. If not, then you are outdated, and you are maybe being a consultant on something that is not working anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's tough to stay up to date with it all, but you have to. If not, you're just going to get lost, and everything's going to change, and then you're just going to be one step behind. And you always have to be on top of it and seeing what trends, what's changing, what's emerging, what stopped working, what is now working, and just always just be learning and testing, and just trying to figure out what's working.
Okay, so now, Brandon, you're based on, where are you now?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, okay. Okay. And you work, of course, internationally with any kind of product, brand, or service, right?
Yeah, for the most part, as long as you have a legitimate, credible business, I could help out. But yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in a different language and things like that. It still help out. Just becomes a little different with the keywords and targeting. But for the most part, the core principles of Google's algorithm stays the same. It's just implementing keywords in English or French or Spanish or whatever language you're targeting. But everything is feasible and obtainable if done properly.
Okay. And do you have an opinion about the future of Google? What's coming up next important? What do you think it will happen? Or maybe you know that will happen with search engines, with SEO, or something like that. That would be great to know because, of course, you know a lot about this, so it would be good to share.
I wish I had that crystal ball and could see the future, but with SEO, nobody knows, or digital marketing, no one knows. Google probably doesn't even know either because they have like machine learning and algorithms that people don't even control it anymore. It's just machine learning, AI. So it's going to be interesting what they're looking for, but mainly they're just trying to clean up spam. That's what Google's really looking to do, is clean up the results and make sure that no one's gaming the system or tricking or sliding in there that shouldn't be there. So that's really the main thing, is just good, better quality search results. That's the ultimate thing, and making sure that you have the best quality website to offer the best quality results to people.
Okay, okay, great. And what about we've heard about metaverse, right? Is that the name in Facebook? Yes, metaverse.
Yeah, the meta, yeah, metaverse.
Yes. And what do you think about a meta Google, something that you search in augmented reality universe, something like that? Do you think that's plausible? That's something that will happen?
Possibly, who knows? But yeah, everything is unfortunately going to be just plugged in the future. Nobody wants to be in the real world. Everyone's stuck on their phones, and if you have the phone stuck in your eyes and implanted there, I feel like everyone's going to be doing it. So that's probably going to be the future for younger generations, not us, but for like the younger generations who grew up all online. There's be like, online is the best. Why do I want to be in the real world when I can be online? Which seems weird, but look how addicted everyone is to their cell phone. It's kind of scary, but everyone is, not everyone, but majority of the people are probably going to want to just be plugged into that metaverse, and who knows what that's going to be like, but that probably will be the future.
Yes, we'll wait for that. Hopefully for the better, right? Because sometimes we don't want to be addicted, but to solve our problems in every day by, of course, searching and doing businesses and doing business. I'm sorry, and buying or selling products. Well, I think that's the healthy part of internet. You know, to optimize that, not to be stuck on social media or imaginary worlds, and that's other things, I believe. Again, that they are marketable, of course they are, but we're looking for healthy things, and of course that's going to be very good for the future, that we can find that every day, and to be in the near future optimizing all of this that we're talking about. So thank you very much, Brandon. Of course, how can people find you? Where can they find you? Do you have can you tell us where they can find you, in maybe a website, etc.?
So for everyone that's listening or watching, I created a special gift for everybody. If they go to my website, SEOoptimizers.com/gift, they can find that there. That's SEOoptimizers.com/gift, and they can find that gift there. And my contact information is on my website as well, and they can find all that information there.
Wonderful. So that's the place to go. If they can reach you, that's the place to go and have a gift, and then contact you for anything that they need from you. That'll be great. So now you know, people, where to find Brandon Leibowitz. So again, thank you very much for this time with you. I don't know if you want to add anything else, something that I missed. Sometimes it happens, so if we are complete, or you're free to go with anything else you want to add.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on, and let me share some tips about SEO and digital marketing, and just keep on learning to everyone, and just keep working at it. Don't give up. It takes some time, but you'll see that traction moving up over time. It's just, don't give up. A lot of people kind of get discouraged after a couple months. They don't see any traction, but it all takes time. Nothing is immediate. It's slow, constant growth is going to win in the long term.
That's the best advice of wisdom about Brandon Leibowitz you can have today. So please listen very well and be patient, because sometimes we don't have that. In this world that we click and we expect a result after the click, it's good to know that in this case, for succeeding, you need to be patient and, of course, come to the expert. Muchas gracias, Brandon Leibowitz. Thank you for being here. Hopefully we will be again with something new, with something innovative in the future, in the near future. So hopefully we can talk again.
Yep. Thanks. I look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. To all the audience of One Day Left podcast. Thank you for being here with me and with Brandon. So I'll see you very soon. Take care.